For more on those peace talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government and a closer look at the news of this death, I'm joined now by Kamran Bokhari. He's a geopolitical analyst on the Middle East and South Asia affairs, also co-authored the book Political Islam in the Age of Democratization. Want to welcome you to the show. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
What surprised you about this announcement?
Not much. It's, at some point we were supposed to hear that, like others have been killed, that Mullah Omar, there would one day would come that we'd hear the Mullah Omar is no more. And the fact is, this is the first time. Although this time it seems like there may be some element of truth to it.
And you were saying it's the death of a phantom. I mean, we really haven't seen this guy. He hasn't been out there popping his head out periodically like other leaders have. So the thought that he's been gone for 2 years really doesn't come as much of a shock, I guess.
The thing is that with Osama bin Laden and others who've been killed, there was at least a face to sort of say, okay, this face matches up with a dead body. Therefore, we either have proof of death or proof of life. In this case, this guy's a ghost. Nobody's seen him since 2001. If you look at the pictures that are published in the open sources saying that this is what Mullah Omar used to look like, none of them match up. And so, nobody really knows what he looks like, what his voice, sounds like. Nobody seems to have any idea. So how can you say that he's dead or alive, and when did he die?
It seems like such a muted response here in Washington, D.C. It doesn't seem like people are out rejoicing, talking about it much. Does that say something about the landscape and how it's changed? It used to be the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and now we've got ISIS, and it seems like there's a lot of hoopla about Turkey getting involved. It's a game changer. Has the page turned in a sense? I mean, what do you make of that?
It hasn't been high on the priority list of Washington for a very long time. I mean, this is an old war that the United States wants to close. I mean, a chapter, a book that, the United States is interested in finishing. And therefore, it didn't gain traction. And besides, there's just so many other issues that, this doesn't even compute. So you got Syria, you got Iraq, you mentioned ISIS, you have the crisis in Greece, you have Ukraine, you have, the Chinese economy. So this is really low on the totem pole.
When somebody dies, if he were to die today, if he'd been out there, we'd seen him, and suddenly he's dead, then the stories start, well, there's a vacuum, and who's going to fill the void? But if he's been gone for 2 years, have we missed that story? Has that already happened? Or is there still some jockeying for position, do you think?
No way to tell. See, the thing is that we don't have enough information to say whether this guy is dead for real, and if he died, when he died. We're probably never going to find out what he really looked like, or what he was really about, if in fact he is dead. As for jockeying for power, well, Mullah Omar, if he was alive, would be facing problems because of the negotiations with the Afghan government, mediated by Beijing and the Pakistanis and the Qataris. Now that he's gone, people are going to say, has this been orchestrated? The people within the Taliban movement, especially the hardliners who don't want to give up fighting, they're going to say, we've been cheated. So for 2 years, you mean to tell us that you've been sort of putting up a charade? You've been selling this in his name to us? And so that creates a lot of rifts, and I think that is the intent here of those who leak the story.
And so how, briefly if you can, how does this impact the talks?
For starters, people are going to say, we don't have a negotiating partner. We don't have coherence in a movement. Who are we talking about? If Mullah Omar is no longer alive, who's calling the shots? Is it Mullah Mansour Akhtar? There's talk about Mullah Omar's son trying to, position himself to take over from dad. Again, these are all names that are being thrown out. Nobody really knows whether these guys exist or not.
Yeah, so it's even more complicated in some respects. Kamran Bokhari, always a delight talking to you. Thanks so much for your analysis.
Thank you.